Yep, you saw me. There you go, guys. That's a fish. There you go, guys. That's unreal! Oh, this is such an awesome looking fish. Oh, yeah! Alright, guys, check that out.
Oh, Sophia, you gonna try to talk to the audience? You gonna say hi? Oh, you just want to sit with Daddy. You want to kick those feet all over. Oh, big yawn. Oh, goodness. You say hi, everyone? See, can you guys believe how big I've already gotten? I'm only 2 months old and I'm wearing 8-month clothes. Want to say hi? You can smile. There's a smile. So I want them to see my foot really bad. I keep putting it up. Look at my foot. No camera. No camera. Are you being bashful? You like sitting with Daddy? Oh, yawn. You just woke up, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah. Sophia, I love you. What you got? You got some bubbles there? Oh. Can you say hi? No. There's smiles. Extreme close-up. Wah! 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 You haven't seen that movie yet. Was that funny? He says, I like sitting up like all the big people do.
What's up, everyone? Scott TroutHammer here. It's Monday, and this is what my Mondays usually consist of. A lot of this, and a lot of that. If you guys don't do meal prep, I definitely recommend doing it. It makes it really easy to keep yourself eating clean if you're trying to get in shape, because you basically have all your meals prepared for you. That's pretty much all we got here. We got about a cup of beans, now that you're all fogged up, a cup of rice, 1 pasilla pepper, 1 bell pepper, and 1 white onion chopped up. A little bit of olive oil in there to make it so it doesn't stick. And that's what it looks like when it's all mixed up. Sort of almost like a deconstructed burrito. And I just put some chicken on top of that, which the chicken's cooking in there. And I usually eat this after I work out. It's a real great way to just in one meal get all the right nutrition after a workout. The macros on this are incredible. I usually get 4 servings out of this, and this stuff alone is, so the macros on this, it's got about 50 grams of carbs, about 15 grams of protein, and it may be 2 grams of fat because of the oil per serving. So yeah, by the time it's all done, I just pack it into a square Tupperware container like that. And once it cools off, then I just take a knife and cut it into 4 sections. When it's time to eat one, just pull a section out. Easy to use. In case you couldn't tell, there's white rice in there. Really, I think brown rice is just overrated. It's sort of fad food for fitness fanatics. That's a lot of F's. But macro-wise, the difference between brown rice and white rice is so small. I mean, brown rice just has a little bit more fiber. That's about it. White rice is just as good for you. White rice isn't going to affect your glycemic levels as much or in the same way that like brown rice does. People think white rice is not as healthy for you. They put it in the same category as white bread, white potatoes. Those are high glycemic carbs. White rice is still a low glycemic carb. The reason for the rice and beans mixture, so white rice is an incomplete protein, and black beans are an incomplete protein. But the beans have the aminos the rice are missing, and the rice have the aminos the beans are missing. So you mix them together, you get a complete protein. And And the peppers and onions in there for flavor. You don't want to be too heavy-handed on the onions because onions have a lot of sugar in them. And that's why I went with a white onion, because it has the lowest sugar. But you've got some hot peppers in there for the capsaicin, which is going to increase your metabolism. And the reason with the black beans, so black beans have a compound in them called I3G. And I forget the actual scientific name for it. I'll look it up later and I'll just like write it on down here. But basically the way that compound works in the body, it increases your body's ability to manage its body composition. And that is calorie partitioning. That's your body saying where calories should go. Obviously you want calories to go toward muscle and energy and not fat cells. I3G is a compound that helps do that for the body. Doesn't replace it, just amplifies it. Yeah, it's already noon. Probably not going to have enough time to go to the gym today. But it's Monday. This is what I do. I cook. Hey, you guys want to talk about an old shirt, old game? Check this thing out. Honestly, one of my favorite games. Let me know if you guys played it. We showed a little family, showed a little fitness. Now let's show a little fishing. Promise there's going to be no more Fs. As the title of the video said, I found something pretty interesting on tacklewarehouse.com and figured I'd give it a try. Translucent braided fishing line. So if you guys aren't familiar with braided fishing line, this is what it typically looks like. It's a rope, and usually they color it. Most common color that bass fishermen or any fisherman really use is the dark moss green because it's the least visible. But that's the problem with braid, is the visibility. You get amazing bite detection, you get amazing knot strength, and it's so versatile, but fish can see it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the brand. I really don't like a lot of the stuff they make, but this is from Spiderwire, and I mean, it's actually pretty translucent. I mean, honestly, the camera really doesn't do it much justice. I'll show it against a black background here, but you can see it's kind of translucent, or at least much more translucent than any other braided line I've seen. So this is 30-pound test, and it has the diameter of 8-pound fishing line, which is pretty good comparatively to other fishing lines and how big the braid diameter is compared to other fishing lines. But I might be a little bit crazy for what I'm going to do. So I don't know if you guys watch another YouTube channel called Tactical Bassing, but I love that channel. They give so much information on that channel. But they talk a lot about getting a bass to react, and the purpose of crankbaits, jerkbaits, things like that is you get a reaction strike out of the bass. Chatterbaits also the same way. And when you have that reaction from a bass, it really doesn't matter if they see the fishing line, because, I mean, they say they tie their, one of them, I think is, what's his name? Tim, one of them, he says that he ties his crankbait right onto the braid and still lands fish. I mean, because if you're trying to trigger a bass into striking, they're not striking because they're hungry, and they're not striking. They really don't care if they can see anything. They're just like, this is vibrating, this is making noise, this is pissing me off. I want to get it out of the area. So, thinking about putting this on my reaction rod, one thing is, this is what's left of the line that I had on that rod. I was using the Tactical Fluorocarbon from P-Line, really innovative line. It worked really well for the first like month or so that I used the line. Problem though is I don't always fish with the reaction rod, and it was a line that if I let the rod sit for a couple days, it'd get a real bad amount of memory, and if I fished the rod daily, it wouldn't be so bad. It'd fly off the spool just fine, no memory at all. But if I didn't fish that rod every day, if I let it sit for like a week, it'd just backlash and bird's nest over and over again. Braided line doesn't do that anywhere near as often. And I've always been a braid to leader guy anyway, but I mean, I want to try spooling up my reaction rod with this stuff 100%. Put some crankbaits on it and see how it works. Let's just do a real quick comparison to translucency. So here is the translucent braid, and here is some 12-pound floor clear, and you can see the comparison. Obviously the translucent braid isn't completely translucent, it's not completely clear. My only worry with using this line is it's got a lot of white, and white reflects UV light. But like I said, I'm going to be fishing things like this, getting reaction strikes from a bass. I really am not too worried about that. I'm wondering if even the sort of iridescence that's going to come off of this line isn't going to matter so much if I'm getting a reaction strike from a bass. So this is sort of an experiment for myself also. Nothing else I can say about Spiderwire is the line is really cheap compared to all the other braids. I think the price was almost half as much, even for this like new stuff that's supposed to be super special. So let's get this going on the reaction rod. Now I've already done a video teaching you guys how to spool line onto a casting reel. I'll put a link for that in the description below. Simple uni knot to cinch it onto the spool. Tuck the knot into the hole, and away we go. Alright, so a lot more on the spool than I thought. I think I only used like half the spool. And you can see how much line's on there. So, seeing how it looks on the spool, I'm actually not as worried as I was seeing it on the spool that came with the package because it looks a little more clearer. And obviously the nice thing is that is a one line, one continuous line all the way down to the knot on the spool. So a lot more of this stuff on the spool than the fluorocarbon. But then again, with the fluorocarbon, that was a 12-pound line versus this, an 8-pound diameter line. So one thing I do with my reaction rod, because I'm fishing crankbaits, jerkbaits, chatterbaits, things like that, I put a small snap swivel on the end so I don't have to lose line tying knots over and over again. Just snap it right onto the lure. I'm doing it for a long time. It does not mess with the action of the lure. Alright, so obviously the thing that's probably going to be asked is, what are you going to do about braided line and treble hooks like that? So the problem with using reaction baits like crankbaits, jerk baits, things like that is that you want to have some give in your system because you don't want to put huge holes in the fish's face when they go to strike that because they can leverage themselves off. That's why you need a rod that has a nice soft tip. That's why I use this rod for my crankbaits, jerk baits, and reaction baits. So I'm really not too worried about using that braided line because, I mean, besides that, the line I've been using on this is braided fluorocarbon, so not a lot of give there. Going to have less give with the braid, but not going to have the fluorocarbon there. Alright, so I got about an hour before I got to get ready for work, so what do you say we take a quick trip to the river and test this stuff out? So we're pretty much starting right in the middle of the day, so can't really say I expect much, but like I said at the start of this video, we're looking for a reaction strike. So obviously, wow, okay, yeah, this line casts like butter. Something else I'm going to be looking for is how much the water affects the color of this line. I'm not going to fish this thing at Waverly right now. Waverly is brown. That is smooth. Alright, fished the Bill Lewis for about 10 minutes. Haven't noticed any discoloration on the line, so that's a plus. I want to see how this thing works with the deep diving crankbait. The thing I'm looking for with the lip crankbait is how deep this thing gets down, and so far I'm feeling it hit the bottom. So braided line floats, but this line it's the same diameter as 8-pound mono, so should get pretty far down, and yeah, it's getting all the way down. I mean, I know it's only like maybe 7 feet deep over here. Alright, so the depth is just fine on a lipped crankbait, but now I'm starting to notice some discoloration of the line, and that's pretty disappointing. So now we try chatterbait. That was much easier than before. And I think this is going to be the real test, is how does braided line, which normally floats, help with a suspending jerkbait? And it's letting it suspend. It's not bringing it up. It's not sinking it. Cast just fine. Well, alright, now I got a huge bait ball right here, and I see a bunch of smallmouth coming up and trying to hit it. Well, I can already say that this is the smoothest I've ever been able to cast a jerkbait, and that's after having used mono, fluorocarbon, copolymers, never used straight braid for a jerkbait, and I mean this line is just smooth. It might be my new favorite Spiderwire line. I mean, I've never been able to cast like that with a jerkbait, and that jerkbait is pretty light. I think that jerkbait's only like 1/8 of an ounce, and it just sails. All right, it might be closer to 1/4 ounce, but still, this is that's great. So that was a shallow jerkbait. Let's switch to a deep diving jerkbait. There we go. There we go. Well, I think this is a safe indicator that the white braid works on that deep diving jerkbait. And it's about the size of those guys I was seeing blowing up on that bait ball over there. Just threw it right in the middle of the bait ball, and let her rip. Literally, rip bait, get it? And now the line is sort of beige and not so much white or clear. So, I mean, the color retention, pretty disappointing, but I mean, it worked. Yeah, I mean, in its finality, in retrospect, I guess I'm satisfied. I mean, the way that line casts the jerk baits I have is the best I've ever done. Maybe I've just been doing it wrong. I mean, I don't know if I was using too thick a diameter of line. I was using 10-pound for my jerk baits, but I mean, that was just great. I've never been able to get that smooth of a cast at that distance with a jerk bait. I mean, really not much of a distance. I think the furthest cast I made was maybe 30, 40 feet. But with a really light lure, I think that's pretty good. So castability, definitely, you know, I'd give the castability on that an 8 out of 10. That's some pretty good stuff right there. Color retention was definitely disappointing. I'd give the color retention a 2 out of 10. Don't really know why I'm rating this stuff, but I started doing it, so I guess I am now. But yeah, I mean, I fished some pretty clear water here, and it still retains some color from the water. Started getting a little pale green in the color, and I mean, it caught a fish, so it did exactly what I wanted to do. That's my reaction rod. I use all my reaction setups on that, so crankbaits, jerk baits, chatterbaits, you know, and it's braid, so it'll float. So I'll probably run some walking sticks on that, some of my spook baits. But I am finishing at the right time because the wasps have stopped flying around me and are now flying at me. So I'll just real quick ask what you guys thought down in the comments below. If you guys have used this invisible braid before, let me know. Let me know what you guys thought about it. And again, I'm trying to get this channel to go to 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do that. So if you could, please hit that subscribe button down there, notify bell up there, so you're going to be the first to see all the great content that's going to come from this channel. And also, you guys are helping me just absolutely race to 500 subs. Once we hit 500 subs, we're going to start doing some giveaways. So if you want to get on that, and if you want to shout out on this channel, all you got to do is subscribe today. But other than all that, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, tips up, tight lines, and have fun fishing.